You know, I step away from the camera for just a few hours, and every time I do, this freaking idiot says or does any number of stupid and or horrible things, because he really is just that awful and stupid a human being. And you know, this morning I posted a video, and by the way, I'm recording this on what is today? Tuesday afternoon. So this morning I posted a video titled "Time for Distraction," because with all these things going on out there, most of which are bad for Trump, especially, you know, the flooding disaster in Texas and what's going on with the cover-up of the Epstein files that Donald Trump is covering up, and the MAGA fallout from that, which I love. They don't know what to do with it. I mean, they're furious, but they can't be mad at Trump, even though if they gave it any kind of thought and they were honest in the least, they would know that it's Donald Trump ordering the cover-up. And if they took it a step further, they would come to the very obvious conclusion that he's covering it up because he's all over the Epstein files. But they can't allow themselves to go there, so they're just turning themselves into pretzels trying to deal with this. But regardless, it's bad for Trump, because some people are beginning to question the Orange God King on this, and that's not good for Trump at all. By the way, my allergies, as usual, are freaking killing me out here. I hate the summer. Maybe I'll talk about that more later. Not that you probably give a damn, but God, I hate the summer. Anyway, so I recorded this video about how it just seems to me that now would be the time for Donald Trump to do or say something horrible to distract everyone from the Texas flooding and the Epstein stuff. And you know, he so many things have happened since that video. I don't know if any one of them were specifically as a distraction for all of that, or whether it's just his typical MO, just to flood the zone with ridiculous bullshit, which distracts from whatever else is going on anyway. So he's just, by his very nature, just being a horrible human being who constantly says and does really horrible and stupid stuff. You know, just by the nature of who he is, it's a constant distraction from whatever happened 5 minutes earlier. And I don't know if you saw any of the clips from this, and God help you if you actually watched the whole thing, but he had a cabinet meeting. And damn if that wasn't just a full-on display of stupidity. I was actually going to show you some video clips from that, but my damn equipment wasn't working correctly, and technical incompetent that I am, I wasn't able to figure it out, and no one's around to help me out with it. So I guess you're not going to see those, but it's probably just as well. You don't need to see clips of this idiot to know that he's an idiot. One of the things that he said in that cabinet meeting, just to show you how truly awful a human being he is, and I've talked a lot about the fact that he's a sociopath. I've been reading a lot about sociopaths lately, because our current illegal criminal president, he's illegal because the Section 3 of the 14th Amendment expressly prohibits him from being president. But, you know, here we are. Anyway, he clearly is a sociopath. You know, other people who know far more about this than I do, especially the guys over there at who do Shrinking Trump. Oh man, their names escape me at the moment. Anyway, they are experts in this, and they've been covering Trump's sociopathy for quite a long time, and his personality disorders. And so I've been reading up on some of that stuff myself lately. He so clearly is, and part of that is that he doesn't care about anybody or anything. Like, it's not just a line. It's not just some sort of ad hominem attack on him to say he doesn't care about anyone but himself. No, he really doesn't. He's incapable of it. Like, he was born incapable of caring about anyone or anything but himself. And so he was at this cabinet meeting, and while there are children dead and missing in Texas and all of that's going on, Donald Trump was in the cabinet room talking at length about whether or not he should put gold leaf on the crown molding in the cabinet room. And then he went on a fucking tangent about how, they can't make paint that looks like gold. We can paint it, but it won't look that good because they've never been able to make a paint that really looks like gold. So maybe I'll have to put gold leaf. This is what he thinks about. Not dead and missing children in Texas. He's thinking about whether or not he should paint or just go for the gold leaf on the crown molding. That's what he's concerned about. That's what he cares about. He doesn't care about those children. He doesn't care about anyone, even members of his own family. He is incapable of it. He's a sick person. Anyway, so he said a bunch of things in that cabinet meeting that, who knows, I haven't been paying attention to the news really, but so I don't know if any of the stuff that he said in there got traction in terms of distracting people from things. He also did say some bullshit, like floated the idea of taking over Washington, D.C., a federal takeover of the district. He also insinuated that he might do the same for New York City. So, I don't know. Maybe those were designed to be distractions. I mean, don't take anything he says too seriously. That's not to say that he won't do. I mean, he could take over Washington, D.C. It's a federal district. So that wouldn't be very difficult. But the New York City thing, obviously, that's a big deal. And I don't put anything past him, for sure. That said, I'm not going to jump and react with outrage every time this buffoon says something outrageous or horrible. Most of the time, he just says shit, right? For reaction, to be the center of attention, because he knows people will talk about it, like taking over Greenland or invading Panama or making Canada the 51st state, or doing something stupid like issuing an executive order changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico. Yeah, stupid shit. By the way, the Gulf of Mexico is still not named the Gulf of America because, as you'll recall, his executive order only renames a part of the Gulf. It's really the shoreline, the American shoreline part of the Gulf of Mexico. It only, extends out a small way into the ocean. So it's like 99% of the Gulf of Mexico he didn't even attempt to rename because we don't own it. Anyways, the whole thing's fucking stupid. But so, who knows? Another thing he did was, you might have seen this, and I'm sure people are reacting to this. He's sending law enforcement on horseback into, I believe it's MacArthur Park in Los Angeles. Now, understand what that's all about. 100% for show. 100% for show for the Fox News audience. And to, get the libs all riled up. Gotta piss off the libs. That's a big part of it. And, pissing off the libs is for the Fox News audience. But that's not what you do if you're serious about enforcement and doing your mass deportations. It's a joke. It's completely for show. It's for the cameras. It's all part of the show. Trump's administration, everything with him is entertainment. It's show. I mean, that doesn't mean to say he doesn't actually do stuff. He does. But even the things he does it with an eye towards the show and how is this going to be covered on Fox News, and how is my cult going to react to this, and let's keep them entertained. Anyways, someone had written something I read earlier today about how the Trump show ends, and she went through the major things that have happened since he took office this second time, and talked about it in terms of the ongoing show, the drama, the soap opera, that everything he does is fitting into the show. And she concludes by, speculating about how the show ends. And she doesn't think the show is going to end well at all, and I don't either. I do not think that this whole thing is going to end well for Trump. And what does the ending look like? I mean, unless a cheeseburger gets him, and, you just wake up one morning and hear the news that he is no longer with us because a cheeseburger got him in the middle of the night or whatever. Unless something like that happens, do you think he's just going to come to the end of his term and then just leave and go off into retirement and play golf and enjoy the billions he will have both grifted from the cult and lined his pocket with, from all the bribes and the kickback schemes and, all of that stuff, the illegal stuff that he's done right out in the open that he'll completely get away with? Will he just go and play golf and enjoy all his money? Nobody believes he's going to do that. So what's he going to do? Is he going to try to cling on to power illegally? I don't know. We're going to find out. But I don't see it going, the way of other presidents where he just heads off into the sunset. I think it's going to end ugly. And I think it's going to end ugly for him. It may end ugly for all of us in one way or another, but I think it is going to end ugly for him. Anyway, what else did I want to say here? About the MacArthur Park shit and the law enforcement on horseback. It's all a complete joke. As I said, it's just to entertain the cult. It's all for show, all of it. And there was also an article today, once again, there've been many of these, about how Donald Trump, for all of the show he puts on with all these mass deportations that are supposedly going on, he's still not deporting people in the numbers that Barack Obama did. And even that Joe Biden did. Because this hasn't been a serious effort. And even now, what was it? It wasn't, long ago that we're going after all the farm workers and everything. And then he said a couple weeks ago, well, we're not going to go after the farm workers. And I told you we would never really do that in any real way. The biggest harm that has been done to the farm worker situation is simply fear. People fearing that they were going to be rounded up and deported, so they didn't come to work, a lot of them, and fruits and vegetables, rotting in the fields. But it was because of the fear. I'm telling you, I fucking hate summer. These damn horse flies, they just are attracted to my bald head, and I hate these motherfuckers. They are the worst. Anyway, so it was fear that kept them from them, not actual enforcement efforts, on farms or anything. And I told you the reason is because the oligarch class, who owns all of these industrial farms and things, they will never let the puppet that they bought, they bought the presidency for this piece of shit. They were never going to allow their puppet, who they bought and paid for, round up and deport all their cheap immigrant labor. That was never going to happen. So, you know, Trump said, well, you know, we're come to think of it, you know, we're not going to round up all those people. We'll let the farmers decide. Okay, the farmers are in charge of immigration enforcement now. So I guess the farmers can deport people now if they want. You know, one of those illegals gets a little too mouthy with the farmer, he can have them deported, I guess. I don't know. Doesn't make any freaking sense. But then some on the MAGA right, and this is really actually happening. Some people actually believe in some of these policies that Trump has pretended to believe in all this time. Some of them actually really do. And for the people for whom immigration really is a big deal, they don't want any immigrants allowed here at all, period. They want them all deported. They don't give a shit if it wrecks the economy. They don't care. So when Trump said, oh, well, we're not gonna round up all those people, let the farmers decide. If the farmers want to keep them, the farmers can keep them. That didn't sit well with those people. And they were up in arms saying, oh, now Trump's doing an amnesty for farm workers. Now Trump's out saying, well, it's not amnesty. So we're just going to, you know, he's exempting them from the deportations and allowing them to stay here, even though, you know, they came here illegally. He's giving them an exception. That's amnesty. He's letting them stay here, even though they didn't come here legally. That's an amnesty. But he figures if he just says, well, it's not an amnesty, that will win over those people. I don't know, maybe it will. They usually fall in line. But the point is, even with his, you know, all these mass deportations that has everybody up in arms, he's not even deporting people in the numbers that Obama and Biden were. Because this wasn't really a serious effort. It was for show. But it was also just to be cruel. Because that's what's... So you might be thinking, well, why weren't people as up in arms when Obama and Biden were doing it? And some people were, but not like now. Why, when they were deporting more people than Trump, was it not seen as big of a problem when they were doing versus Trump, who's deporting fewer people? It's because they did it in an orderly, methodical, humane way. Donald Trump is being purposefully cruel. You didn't have masked law enforcement, and who knows, some of these people are maybe just Trump's militia. Maybe they're fucking Proud Boys pretending to be law enforcement. I don't know. Their faces are hidden behind masks. Many of these people do not act like law enforcement. If you see them, they do not behave like law enforcement. Anyway, you didn't see any of that. You didn't see the brutality. You didn't see the lawlessness. You didn't see people being kidnapped off the streets and held without any process whatsoever, shipped off to third world gulags. You didn't see that happening before. They did it in a humane, legal, orderly way. It's not what Trump is doing. Trump is purposefully being cruel because that's what his cult wants. They love that shit. You know, what outrages decent human beings like you and I, they love that over at Fox News. The Trump cult, they're not outraged by that. They love it. They want to see more of that. You know, if one of those law enforcement officers on some horse in MacArthur Park, you know, were to trample somebody to death in the park with their friggin' horse, they would love that. They would. And I don't think that's hyperbole at all. They would eat that shit up. So, anyway. I guess that's it for now. Got to get out of these friggin' bugs. So, anyway, thanks so much for watching. Talk to you again soon.